Hey everybody, so I'm probably going to title this video something like I'm quitting League. League isn't fun, quitting forever, something like that. It doesn't, blah, blah, blah. So I want to remind everybody that even if I quit League, I could come back in a month, 2 months, 3 months. I could come back next year. I could come back next season. Any of that time, right? So in the future, don't think this is clickbait. This is me just kind of keeping everybody up to date. That I don't really think League is that fun anymore, and we're just gonna go talk about that. Now, I'm doing that because my community is absolutely fantastic. You guys are extremely intelligent. You're probably the smartest League community in anywhere. You guys are extremely intelligent, handsome, pretty individuals, and I would never want anyone more than you guys. But some of you have been worried, and some of you have been talking and thinking like, oh my god, has he offed himself? Where's he been? What's he been up to? Some people actually thought that, and I felt bad, so I decided to put up a video. Now, I thought I, kind of shilled my variety channel enough, and I don't want to like shill my variety channel from my main channel and kind of, go about it like that. But so here we are. So if you look down below, I have been streaming on my variety channel, and I've been doing that with my time. I've been trying to grow my variety channel. And, I think it's going pretty good. We got some good stuff going on there. And that's just what I've been trying to do with my time because, I'll be honest, League just has not really been that entertaining to me. If you want to watch me and you want to talk to me, you want to come and hang out and do any of that stuff, then you can come look at my variety channel and we can talk about anything. And that'd be cool. So you guys just go do that if you missed me, okay? But let's talk about League of Legends now. Let's talk about why I haven't really been enjoying League of Legends. Okay, so the first off, the thing that's been mulling in the back of my brain for quite some time is that I just don't believe MOBAs were designed for where they are at now. MOBAs were originally designed for Warcraft 3 in RTS, a real-time strategy game, and it was just sort of a mission within the campaign, kind of a fun mission where you pushed and pulled a little cart. Some people thought, would that be fun in multiplayer? And they made maps for that in multiplayer. And it's just kind of gone from there. The genre, this entire thing was never really designed for multiplayer, and it was never really considered how this would all play out if people actually started to get really good at it and take it very, very seriously. Well, the end of the summation of all of that is that League of Legends really isn't that fun if it's taken too serious, and it really isn't that fun if it's gone this far. So why have I stopped playing League of Legends? I'm gonna say it's just because the gameplay isn't fun. So the two concepts in League of Legends, in my opinion, right now they're destroying the game more so than anything else are junglers and supports. Now they can nerf support and they can nerf jungler, but then they'll end up buffing them back up, so it doesn't really matter. Every season we see more and more that junglers and supports are becoming increasingly dominant every season. That's because the quicker you win a game, the more consistent you can be. If you want to win a game at 50 minutes, that's inconsistent. Your team can throw, you can fight other scaling people, you can have one of your teammates picked at like 30-40 minutes. If you play the most hyper scaling late game champion, it's just very inconsistent to get to late game. The most consistent way to climb, the most consistent way to win games is just win them the earliest you can. If a game has been snowballed out by 10 minutes, then there's not really much risk to losing the game anymore. At the low ranks, this can be a bit different because people will throw and give their opponents opportunity to get back into the game. But at the high ranks, where throws become less and less common, the most consistent way is to just dominate the early game. And by the way, this will be a recurring problem as I talk about this and I go through this video. A recurring problem will keep being that like the lower ranks and the higher ranks continuously have different metas and they continuously have different amounts of fun. And I'm mentioning that because a lot of what I'm talking about is just at the higher ranks. It's just there these certain concepts that just aren't fun to really play around. So let's talk about junglers and supports. Okay, so when we originally imagined League of Legends, what was the big difference between League and Dota? A big difference between League and Dota was that in Dota, people roamed all the time. You would frequently have the level 2 or the level 3 permanently roaming support who would just, they'd maybe just get level 3 or maybe even level 2, or maybe some supports could even just permanently roam at level 1. League of Legends tried to keep people in their lane more often. They shortened the distance between lanes, but overall, it's much less likely that somebody can just permanently roam in League of Legends and still win the game. So the game effectively, as compared to its contemporaries, as compared to other games within the same genre, League of Legends has always been more of a laning game. Now, This leads to several problems. If League of Legends is more of a laning game than other MOBAs, then you're effectively playing a 1v1 on top, a 1v1 in mid, and a 2v2 down bot. Now, how does that work out? Do you each see how good you do, and then like at 15 minutes, everyone comes together and you team fight, and you compare, you know, did top lane manage to snowball? Did bot lane manage to snowball? And you compare who snowballed the best, and then you rank it up and, you know, one team wins a team fight? Because that doesn't really make sense either. Obviously, lanes need to be able to impact each other, right? But now here we go into jungler and support. Here's the fundamental problem. Who gets to impact other lanes? The jungler and the support. How do you avoid the jungler and support? Generally, you avoid them by not fighting, by not doing anything. League of Legends went from a game where people would 1v1 all the time, and although, again, as I just mentioned, it was a bit of a screwy balanced system, into a game, it transformed into a game where frequently the vast majority of your time is spent avoiding the jungler and the support. It used to be way back in the day, and the glory days of League to me aren't, I'm not going to say season 1, 2, 3, I'm not going to be like a boomer. I think both by the player base and generally the interest and community and all that, the glory days of League would be season 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around that. And then after that, it started to depreciate a little bit. At either rate, during the glory days of League, junglers generally had like 1, maybe 2 paths they could do. Nowadays, the paths that a jungler can do change like every 3 months. The meta changes over and over and over again. How you can track a jungler continues to change. A jungler, in addition to that, won't have maybe 1 path they can do, but 3, 4, 5 paths they could do off 1 camp. You know, back in the day, it would be red buff, blue buff, gank, or it would be red buff, blue buff, 1 camp gank, or, you know, blah, blah, blah. But nowadays, it's like you could do red buff, full clear top into gank, or you could do red buff to blue buff to camp to gank, or you could do, you know, red buff to blue buff to full clear the top jungle into gank, or into scuttle, or into the, you know what I mean? There's so many options and there's so many different things you can do that the vast majority of your time in League of Legends now needs to be spent on tracking the jungler and tracking the support, because now support roaming is so common, and it is not a little detail, but it is something that you need to keep full track of. So you need to pay attention to back timers. You need to pay attention to when bot is backing. You need to pay attention to the jungler clear. You need to pay attention to if the jungler backed. Riot nerfed wards a long time ago, and when they nerfed wards, they made it significantly less and less likely that you would be able to actually effectively track the jungler. And definitely through all the nerfs on wards, you can track the support less. Although the support does typically just back in a brush and then run into a lane at random. Well, it's not actually random because people will actually track that and they'll see there's, you know, their times. But you get my point here, right? And so the problem is everything I'm mentioning here is the majority of the gameplay. Most of the time, if you look at high ranking or professional play, it will be people poking each other out if they have a counter pick or lane dominance. But if you don't have that, it will primarily be slow push your lane in, they slow push their lane in, you slow push your lane in. And that will be a lot of the gameplay. This inevitably leads to pro play being based around champions who can just kind of play safe and not really have to ever risk anything, like Kosante. So then Kosante needs to have a 45% win rate because he's so dominant in pro play, and there's just so many issues with how the game is played. Fundamentally, I would say that League of Legends is split into 3 different games. You got the low ranks where everything I just said probably doesn't apply to you and you probably think I'm a crazy person. At the low ranks, the junglers rarely gank, the supports rarely roam, and you can just 1v1 in your lane and have fun. Then there's the high ranks where generally there can be some different skill balance issues. Some people will be put or auto-filled, or it might put a challenger against a masters player. Either way, sometimes you can just get a skill advantage on your opponent and try to brute force your lane, but the majority of your time does still have to be spent avoiding the jungler and the support. Then there's pro play where you don't have any skill difference and the jungler and support are perma roaming all the time, and so the majority of gameplay, when we go into pro play, I know this is a very long-winded rant here, but the majority of gameplay ends up being the jungler and the support. How many times are you watching pro play, or how many times are you watching a high-ranking stream, and it's just 2 people avoiding each other until finally the jungler and the support come and they do a 3-man dive. Top and bot. Now let's talk about this. Top and bot are not having any fun right now. Top, because all they're doing is try to 1v1. If you get second pick, then you can generally try to pressure your opponent because you have a hard counter pick. If you're not second pick, then you just sit back and you don't really try to do anything. At either rate, generally, even with a counter pick, you kind of sit around, and unless you get some crazy counter pick, you're generally going to sit around and you're going to wait for the jungler and support to come and 3-man dive your laner, or the jungler comes and you 2-man dive your laner. You get the general idea here. Bot lane is in the same issue. Top and bot are fun roles to play that can have lots of cool gameplay impact, but who spend 15 minutes of a 25-minute game, they spend that entire time only trying to avoid the jungler and the support. So these are two roles that have always been at odds with each other. Now, I want to talk about top and bot because they're way more similar than you think. Both these roles tend to not really have much control over the early game. Top because they get counterpicked, bot because they're in a lane with a support who's just generally going to be way stronger than them. Then they're going to spend the majority of the early game just trying to avoid getting ganked, all in the hope that eventually they can scale, buy some items, and actually start impacting team fights. Top lane generally gets more 1v1s, and in my opinion is a more fun role to play. Bot lane, I do not know why anyone would ever play bot lane. At this point, I firmly believe that the bot lane role can be overpowered and still never be worth playing. It's not fun. It will never be fun anymore. The current balance of League means that bot lane will never be fun again. Top lane can still be fun because, as I mentioned, you can still kind of try to brute force in 1v1s and try to have some fun with the game. But bot lane, I don't imagine bot lane ever having fun with the game. Almost every fight is just going to be lopsided and you're just going to be a turret. You're literally just going to be a damage platform for other people to stun people in front of. Oh boy, Leona stunned the enemy in front of me and I shot them. Wow, I made a good play. No, you didn't make a good play. You just shot whoever your support stunned in front of you. Or you just dove whoever your jungle dove. It's not really that entertaining of a role. All in the hopes that eventually you can get enough items and again, you can carry team fights. And that's the game. The gameplay just isn't very fun. This is not fun. It's fun to win, and I think most people enjoy winning and they have fun with winning, but the things you need to do in order to get the game into a winning state are not fun. And there's certainly not things that I enjoy doing 10 plus times a day. 1v1ing my opponent is fine, but keeping track of a jungler and trying to ward the jungler, and junglers doing the most schizophrenic rotations you've ever seen in your life in order to do like some sort of 2 camp to top Lee Sin gank, just trying to pay attention to all of this and deal with all of this is just not entertaining and it's not fun anymore. I just don't enjoy this. Now let's talk about League of Legends as a whole. Let's talk, I should say League of Legends balance. Let's put it that way, okay? League of Legends balance is just not interesting to talk about anymore. Now, why is that? Why is League of Legends balance not interesting to talk about anymore? That's because I've just seen everything that the designers are doing. The designers are just repeating the same thing every 3 years. Every 3 years, we get a new live design team, either through shuffling the leader or through shuffling all the people below the leader. And what do? We do the same thing every single season. Now, you guys can go watch my variety channel and you can see I've not been talking about League. I've not been paying attention to League. And I can tell you what's happened since I stopped paying attention. Okay. Bruiser items are pretty good. So we obviously nerfed bruiser items. That's pretty clear. That was obviously going to happen. Eventually, Riot probably buffed ADC items, maybe left them overpowered for 2-3 patches tops. So maybe a month and a half, AD carries were overpowered. Then Riot probably started to buff up some bruiser items, maybe buffed up some bruisers, and slowly started to creep bruisers back up in power because what happened? We got a new live design lead who didn't realize why do bruiser items need to be so overpowered. Bruiser items need to be overpowered because melee is pretty bad. And if melee is bad, it needs really, really good items in order to compensate for the fact that they're melee. And we have to learn this every single season. Everything I just mentioned, we have to learn every single season. Why do AD carry items have to suck? AD carry items have to suck because if they don't suck, they scale way too quickly in the game. See, the thing is, AD carry items multiply their damage. You get attack speed, which multiplies your damage. You get flat damage, which isn't a multiplier, so to speak, but helps all these other stats multiply. Then you get crit, and crit multiplies your damage. Then you get crit damage from Infinity Edge, which shockingly multiplies your damage. So you multiply your damage, and then you get flat damage. AD carries early in the game, even at one item, will do like 1/5 of the damage of a late game AD carry. Oh, I forgot the other multiplier is armor pen. So they have 4 damage multipliers, flat damage. No wonder. Once an AD carry gets to 5 items and they're chewing out you know, like 2000 DPS, that's going to be a little bit better than at one item when they're doing like 200 DPS. Now, obviously, that's a bit of a difference, but whereas a mage will start bursting maybe even 3 times harder than they did in the past, an AD carry will start doing 10 times more damage. It's a little bit of a difference. So the problem is, everything I just mentioned, we just keep relearning every season. How many times have we rebalanced Senna? How many times have we rebalanced Cosante? Is Cosante getting another rework yet? You tell me, is he? I bet he is. So Cosante, Senna, Thresh, we're probably doing some minor rework for Ori because she's getting a $500 skin again. We were probably trying to balance Lux and support in mid lane again. Maybe we start rebalancing some bruisers because bruisers got their items nerfed. I bet a bunch of bruisers started to build lethality items, right? And now they're rebalancing some bruisers to force them to use the shitty bruiser items rather than go for lethality items. And it just, everything I'm talking about, all I'm doing is I'm just guessing based on the fact that I've been doing balance patches for a long time. It's just, this is just not interesting. It's just stale balance. In the past, I feel, at the very least, when League was at its heyday, they would just do changes just to see what was cool, what would stick. The Juggernaut patch, the Assassin patch, the Mage patch, the AD Carry patch. Although some of these were hated, at the end of the day, we did bring in some new reworks. We did bring in some interesting stuff. The problem is now everyone has their one main, and everyone mains their one champion, and everyone likes playing their one champion, and everyone, if you so much as touch their champion, they will throw up the ever-living bitch fit of all bitch fits and spam every subreddit and spam Twitter and spam everything and blah, 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 blah. And everyone's just so set in their ways. It's just boring. You know, at the end of the day, that's just what I'm going to say. It's boring. So does the community manage to save the game? Absolutely not. The community is bad, really, really bad. So I actually was like half keeping track of Dante's in Brazil because I was somewhat interested. He was trying to kind of, you know, build some fan base in Brazil, at the very least kind of acknowledge the Brazilian community and talk with people there. What happened? Well, one of his friends managed to completely lose his shit and blow up the biggest temper tantrum you've seen for a quite long time. And I think that's more indicative of how the entire community is now. Everyone's just trying to create like the biggest temper tantrum, the longest tangents, the biggest, weirdest things they can say in order to get attention for themselves. Now, I'm not saying that having funny comments is bad. I'm not saying that, you know, creating an interesting show is bad. It feels like some of these people actually are taking it very seriously, I guess is the right way to put it. It's there's some people you can clearly tell are saying funny things because it's funny to say it, and it's just weird and outlandish, and it's like a cartoon show. They're putting on a stream. They're just putting on a show, right? They're just doing stuff to entertain people. And it feels like a lot of the League community at this point, at least a lot of the streamers, this is actually who they are. This isn't a show. This isn't a kind of Tyler One front, if you will. This is actually just what their personality is. And these people, so much of the League community now is just awful. And it's influenced the community. You know, we've got a feedback loop. When you have shitty streamers, you get a shitty community. And when you get a shitty community, they watch shitty streamers. And the League of Legends community overall, and I say this after visiting many different communities right now, the League of Legends community is probably the worst. And I say this having visited the Hearts of Iron 4 community and experiencing real actual Nazis. Real actual Nazis are more polite to me than basically anyone within the League of Legends video game. Probably because I'm white, but the point stands, okay? So yeah. The second thing here is drama is being used way too much. The League of Legends community is starting to become really stale. Every single month, a new expose comes out. A new person is the worst person ever. And the entire community bands together to say, this guy, he's the worst guy that we've ever had ever. And everyone comes together and they go, yeah, I hate this guy. And they take something and they drive it completely to exaggerated proportions and things get bad. Now, and I'm very liberal, and obviously you guys know that hopefully by now that I'm liberal, right? But even as a liberal, some of y'all are especially the people on Twitter, not even the League of Legends community, just all of Twitter, a lot of y'all have started to realize that drama is really good for your career. Being seen as a victim is very good for your career. That might sound like something that I say, you know, kind of like an Andrew Tateism, but I'm really not. I'm saying that as a person who's just been paying attention. a lot of people have been faking drama, and a lot of people have been exaggerating things to ludicrous proportions, where simple acts of touching someone are now being construed as he's a pedo, he's a rapist, blah, 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 blah. And I see this being shown all over Twitter, and even the League of Legends community is getting into this. Just a few days ago, I Keep It Taco tried to call someone a pedo when he had done absolutely zero research, hadn't looked into it at all, and came out later. And the dude said, oh yeah, I wasn't really actually paying that much attention. So the dude just bandwagon onto things. And that's just the recent one. That just happened like 2 days ago, right? This has been happening a bit. And it's just, everyone is just drama. Twitter has become a complete cesspool, but I definitely, well, let me give the benefit of a doubt. Reddit and YouTube, you guys haven't been getting so much into this, but Twitter has just gone downhill completely. And I would, maybe I'm just blaming League of Legends for Twitter going downhill. So let me just say that I think that definitely, because minimum wage is getting you less and less than it has, and inflation is going up and up, and people want the brightest future for themselves. A lot of people are now seeing that a really bright future themselves. You can get a bright future by relying on being seen as a victim and by creating drama. I don't think that's even an outlandish statement to say. And again, I say this as a liberal because I see a lot of the things that as a liberal that I would side with now being used towards just trying to create victimhood. And I just don't enjoy this. This is not enjoyable. To put this the best way possible, I don't try to assume the worst in anyone. In fact, I try to assume the best in anyone. I was one of those people who back in the day, my dad had a poster of John Lennon, and I enjoyed telling him, did you know John Lennon used to beat his wife? And I would go, your hero was terrible. Later on in my life, I eventually read about John Lennon. I learned that he became very repentant over that fact and apologized and tried to change himself for the better. But no one talks about that, do they? No one talks about how people can commit an action 20 years potentially before they die, 10 years before you're even now. And because of that, it just, I don't like to assume the worst in people. So even if all this drama was true, even if all this stuff is bad, I don't like the atmosphere that's being cultivated. I don't like this where, and a lot of these bad people are bad people, just to be clear, but I don't like the negativity. I don't like swallowing so much of the league's energy in just attacking people for this stuff. So why is drama being used so much then? Let me get off this tangent here. Why is drama being used so much? Because there's just stale content. There's not much else to do in the league community. Part of the reason the balance has gotten so stale is people have gotten so good at the game. Every single time a champion can get 10 damage, that can be a massive shift in the win rate because people know how to play the early game really hard. People know every move they should make. They know every jungler clear. They know everything they can do. 10 extra damage, 1 less second on your clear, being able to trade slightly better. These are impactful things when everything is so fine-tuned and everyone is practicing so hard. The problem is that Riot then now has kind of given up on doing big sweeping changes. They do item updates. They do good stuff. But at the beginning of the season, I was really interested. But as people started to put in their 100-hour work weeks, the streamers, and as they min-maxed every single item and they got everything done, it quickly became obvious that, well, to be honest, all Riot could really do as a company was just kind of slowly start retuning things. They only try to update things once every so often, and that's really all they do. They don't keep things fresh or interesting or exciting. On the community side, then, what does the community have to go with? Do they make funny videos? No, not really. Do they make flash animations? Well, the Koreans and the Chinese seem to. The Western audiences, not so much. Do they make cool shorts and funnies and things like that? No, they pretty much just reuse the same jokes over and over again. And that's it. And that's the joke. The same jokes are the same jokes. It's just completely stale content. I can't remember the last time I actually tried to watch something from the League of Legends community. I actually thought to myself, oh, dang, this is actually funny. I'm actually enjoying watching this. But I have seen funny things from other communities. And I think that's what frustrates me so much is as I try to spend more time outside of League and I try to spend more time in other communities, I've noticed that the League of Legends community is just boring, stale, uninteresting. The most interesting and funny jokes they've gotten lately is you go on Reddit and they just post porn and darken folk, and that goes to League of memes, and people go, porn. The punchline is porn. The punchline will always be porn. And that's it. That's a joke. The punchline is porn. And that's it. That's the funniest shit we got going for us. Amazing. Cool, interesting. Way too, what's the way to put this? The fundamentals of League have been made in way too many videos. Everyone has their fundamentals of League video. Everyone has their champion guide. Champions don't change that much, so champion guides tend to stay pretty relevant no matter what season it is. And just because of that, it's just stale. There's just nothing new or interesting happens. Now, me, I'm a person, let me be clear here, okay? Let me be clear here. I'm the sort of person who, when I go to sleep, what do I watch? Do I watch funny YouTube shorts 99? No, I go watch the history of the First Crusade. I go watch the history of the Brazilian Empire. I go watch the history of pre-Roman Great Britain, you know, stuff like that. And so, you know, I just watched a video from the Islamic perspective on Timur-Lenk. And I thought that was kind of cool because, you know, you always get the English perspective of Timur the Lame, but you don't get the you know, let's say Persian perspective on Timur-Lenk, right? And so I kind of watched a 50-minute video on that. And that was kind of interesting. And that's just what I do in my spare time. So let's move on here then. One of the things in the League of Legends community that is just kind of getting really boring and stupid now is my own drama. Now, I'm not going to talk that much about it because I've talked about it so much my entire life. Look, if you believe I'm a terrible person, great, cool. I'm not going to convince you. You know why I'm not going to convince you? Because I don't mean I'm not going to convince you like I can't. I mean that like I literally cannot convince you. I am not going to convince you. Everyone is just so set in their ways. And my own personal theory on this is the League of Legends community has to be set in their way. They have to be set in their way because clearly otherwise they would have tried to dox, send death threats, and bully me into suicide over something that I didn't do. And that is something that bad people would do. And the League of Legends community isn't bad people, therefore they couldn't have done that. Do you see how that works? Yeah, this is the joke. So the problem here is the goalposts on my own drama have been moved a billion times over the years, and it's something that I'm just bored with the League of Legends community on. If I explain what happened to other people, they just kind of, it's like, it's not that big a deal, right? Like people go, oh, yeah, that sounds really shitty. Sorry that happened to you. But the League of Legends community goes, no, that can't be true. So let's talk about the moving goalposts for a second, okay? And then we're going to talk about Voyboy for a second. So let's talk about, and this shit, by the way, just to be clear, for those of you guys who have not had a memory, this shit is 4 years old to me. This shit is 4 years old, okay? This shit is so far in the past of my life that, like, I don't even think about it on a week-to-week basis. It's like every month it might occur to me, like, oh yeah, that happened. Like, I've just moved on with my life. You guys sit here and it's like the last snapshot in your memory of me is maybe this drama, and that's how you think of me. And but that's why I won't be able to convince you, because this is just what you've been up to. To give you guys a perspective here for a second as to how little people have actually seen my side of the story, when Voyboy's video on me, before they removed dislikes, Voyboy's video almost had more dislikes than my video had views. My response to his video rebutting all of it almost had less views than his had dislikes. People that watched his video saw how sloppy and stupid it was, saw that he was just sort of harassing me, and they disliked it. But then the League of Legends community as a whole, just through a game of telephone, just sort of believed everything that was in his stupid video, despite the fact I actually kind of dunked on it, okay? But let's talk about the moving goalposts. Right after the drama happened, I said, this didn't happen. People said, okay, prove it. Well, obviously it's pretty hard to prove that a bunch of shit didn't happen, especially when a lot of it's fabricated. But then the FBI came in, and the FBI said, holy shit, you got accused of some terrible goddamn things. We're going to look into this. And they looked into it. And after months of investigation, they said, yeah, we think this is just your ex. We think this is just your ex kind of like making shit up to get back to you. Because here's the thing. I think one thing that the League of Legends community can agree on, the number one person you should trust about another person's like personality and what they're like, and who should you trust about someone, is their ex who got dumped. Everyone knows an ex who got dumped will be completely truthful every single time about the person who left them. That's true. That's very true. And the League of Legends community listened to my ex and they said, wow, she's making a lot of sense. I think her ex was really a bad person because she keeps saying so. And Void Boy listened to this and he said, wow, I can't believe she's speaking all the truth. At either rate, once the FBI investigated me and they thought, okay, well, this is just your ex, obviously. And I said, yeah. People said, no, you can't prove that. So I showed the card, I showed my email exchange, and people said, no. And so I used Freedom of Information Act, got the investigation on me, and people said, no. And I showed what was in the investigation, and I showed I was being investigated for exactly the things people were accusing me of, and they said, no. And I said, okay, so what the fuck would change your mind at this point? Literally, what would change your mind? And people come up with the most insane reasonings, the most insane just shenanigans ever to explain how, like, clearly I'm still guilty despite I can't be guilty. People will say things like, well, obviously the FBI didn't think it was serious enough, but if you read the initial accusations into me, they were serious enough. People will say, well, the FBI doesn't investigate things that happen outside of the country, to which I say, are you serious? Are you serious? In fact, one point, and here's the thing, people will take everything I say out of context. People will take everything I say and assume I'm the worst person ever, and everyone will use that as proof. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, that's proof. You could have a video of me just walking down the street, and someone could just post on Twitter, and they could have a caption, he goes to go groom people, and it'll just be me walking down the street, and people will say, oh my God, I can't believe you caught it on tape. And that's all you need to do. You just need to take something, take it out of context, add your own caption for it, assume I'm the worst person ever, and you're good to go. Let me give you an example of this. I was talking to Voidboy, and I will finish on Voidboy here for a second, but let's give you an example of what happened. Do you guys think I'm a meticulous person who very frequently gets a semi-autistic tic? Yes, obviously I do. I read a lot of history, I read a lot of facts, I read lots of numbers. You guys know me. I get a little bit silly about things. I was talking to Voidboy, and he was talking about one of the people who I supposedly did blah 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 to, and he said exactly like that, underage girl. And I said, oh, actually she wouldn't be underage because in Sweden the age of consent is 15. And he said, oh, why would you know that? Oh, you're only doing this because you're blah blah blah. And why did I know that? Obviously it's very obvious why I knew that. I knew that because I was reading a paper from about a decade ago about the interesting phenomenon where both hyper-conservative and hyper-liberal countries both have lower ages of consent. Think about that for a second. It's true. Countries in the middle tend to have their age of consent more around 18. Countries at the liberal side tend to actually have them lower. Countries at the right side tend to also have them lower. What a weird phenomenon when you think about that. Does that prove I've groomed anyone? No, that means I read a paper and I know information and I corrected someone because I'm just like that. But let's talk about Voidboy for a second. Voidboy made his video on me, a video that to this day people think is true, 100% true. Did you know Voidboy actually did no research for his video? That's true. You can actually go and you can see he got his entire video from another video that was made a year ago. Another video that was made a year ago that I had completely debunked a year ago. And I don't mean a year ago from now. I mean back in like 2019, I debunked it. So we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago, I debunked it. A year after I debunked it, he made a second video. That's why in my video, on his video, I was so easily able to debunk what he was saying because I'd already done the research. I could just call back to my video and be like, nah, dude, that video was fake. Nah, dude, that girl was not the age you think it was. In fact, here's what gets worse about Voidboy. Let me actually help you guys understand. You guys who say, I miss Voidboy, when's Voidboy coming back? Not only did he murder-suicide both our careers, killing his career to also shoot my career, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what you do about a murder-suicide. Because typically what happens if like you prove someone's drama wrong, who's like really bigger than you, a lot of times they'll make a video, an apology, they'll do something, right? But Voidboy just decided, nah, fuck it, I'm gonna take everyone's money who's given me money and never work another day in my life. He will never answer to what he did, and he will never work another day in his life because he took your money. He took all your guys' money. All you guys who gave him this money, he took your money and he ran away with it, and he will never work another day in his life. And he doesn't have to now. He gets to make a fake bad accusation on me. He gets to back it up with bunk evidence. And then he just goes off and he never works in his life. But why did he do that? Clearly, he's just a good person. He was just trying to help the community. If you go back to his channel, you can actually see, I think he has 7 videos where he tries to sit on the stairs to get attentions with like 7 different topics. He had originally done it with the toxicity of solo queue, which many of his friends contributed to, mind you, which people found very hypocritical at the time. And then he tried to do it for a bunch of definite issues, like importing players and things like that. He eventually got another one to stick, which was sitting on the stairs to attack me. And that one was really popular. And then he actually tried others sitting on the stairs after that, mind you. The dude was desperate for attention. But here's the problem. Voyboy had a bigger community than me by like a factor of 10. There was not a whole lot I could do to get my word out at the same level he could get his word out. Because in addition to him getting the word out, he had all his other streamer buddies get the word out. He had, I mean, you can go back to his video and you can see how many big streamers got the word out. And tried to attack me in this. We're talking, I was being attacked by like a 30-to-1 ratio. For every viewer I had, there were like 30 viewers who were being attacked against me. Very difficult situation to be in, and especially when your opponent is willing to murder suicide and never answer any of the things that were said. But let's talk about that video really quick. Did you know Voyboy was trying to get women to make up DMs about me? Yes, he actually got caught doing that. Did you know Voyboy was in contact with the FBI and actually had tried to talk to them because they had gone and talked to him. He had privately admitted that this happened. At the same time in his video, he said that there wasn't an FBI investigation and I was lying. He was literally talking to people from the FBI, then saying I was lying about it, okay? He talked to a journalist. And the same journalist who tried to, or sorry, I shouldn't say tried to, the same journalist who did expose Onision, he talked to him and tried to have him do a paper on me. So what happened with the FBI? They didn't believe him. They thought his evidence wasn't good and they thought it was bunk and they just didn't believe him at all. What happened with the journalist? Once again, the journalist didn't believe him, found a lot of his sources were either lying or had no proof of it, and that didn't move forward either. He tried going to local police. He tried to have many of the girls go to local police. Once again, that was admit in the original document for the video he copied had a in the bottom of that document, it had an admission where they tried to have people go to the police. So the police didn't believe them, the FBI didn't believe them, actual accredited journalists didn't believe them. He's on paper lying. And let me remind you, this is all coming originally from my ex, who admit straight up that she lied in order to blackmail me for money. So with all this said, could I convince you that I didn't do it? No, obviously I can't. Like, there's no point. And this is why I just don't give a shit anymore. The people who follow me, the people who know me, they know that this is bullshit. What happened? Oh, I made some bad jokes. Like, literally, okay, let me explain this. I made some bad jokes literally when Obama was president. Like, that's how far back some of this shit goes. Do you guys remember when Obama was president? Do you remember those times? Because that's how far back some of this information goes. Some of the raunchier things that were exposed about me are literally just straight made up. And some of them just come from women who were 26. One of them was literally 26. Another one lied about her age. It was a fan who messaged me, and you can literally go back in my video and see this. It was a fan who lied about her age, and she, I literally, she was like feeling down, and she said she wasn't pretty. And I was like, oh, that's a lie. You're pretty. You know, kind of how you're supposed to be with your fans, right? And that got her, oh my God, Hashinshin hitting on underage girl. Like, sure, if you assume the worst about everyone in every situation, then yes, you can go through 10 years of chat logs and you can get enough content out of that to make a video on. The question is that even really proof anymore, or are you just taking so much shit out of content that it doesn't even matter anymore? Because again, it doesn't. Like, it literally doesn't. Like, no one in any official capacity believed Voyboy's story. And it was Voyboy's story. He was not standing up for the victims. He was trying to get attention. So let's be done with that, because holy shit, dude. To the end of my day, I will never understand how a dude managed to murder suicide 2 different careers because they were too fucking stubborn to just get their own shtick to revive their own career. But let's go on here. What do I hope for the League of Legends community? What do I hope for the League of Legends video game then? Let's finish this up here, okay? I don't really know, because I'm gonna be honest, I just don't think MOBAs were designed for this. Maybe at some point I'll rekindle my love for League of Legends, and maybe at some point I'll come back and start making videos again. Maybe I'll feel the allure of League of Legends and we'll come back and it'll be super cool. But I feel like League of Legends at this point is kind of like stale, and I kind of have like a been there, done that kind of feeling about all of this, okay? And oh, and just to be clear, by the way, I want to go back to my own drama for a second here. My ex has repeatedly told everyone that will listen to her that I groomed her and sexually assaulted her. She has, over the last 4 years, produced zero evidence of this. I've produced multiple evidences, multiple documents, multiple messages to the complete contrary. My ex, when she was 18, messaged me on Snap and wanted to fly out and have sex with me. And I said, nah, I'm not really into that. And I don't really want to do that. I didn't really talk to her because I was interested in someone else at the time. 2 years later, we had kind of become friends. We were watching some shows together. We were calling. We were kind of hanging out every so often. It was pretty cool. And she asked me to come visit her for her birthday. And I said, why? And she said, I have no friends. And I said, look, I'll visit, but only as friends. Like, we're only friends. You got that? Like, I'm visiting because I feel bad. Like, I'll fly out. We can, like, hang out for like 2 days on your birthday. It's cool. Well, she obviously did try to make a move on me. And then afterwards, she asked me to date her. So she added me. She asked me to fly out. She asked me to date her. And to this day, tells everyone I groomed her. She has produced zero mountains of evidence. Like, her evidence is a flat plains. There's not even grass on it, okay? There's tumbleweeds going down it. Anyway, let's just move on. What do I hope for? Again, I feel like the League of Legends, I feel like MOBAs as a concept just have issues. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm enjoying other things in life more than I'm enjoying thinking of League of Legends. Now, that doesn't mean I won't go back at some point. Hence why at the beginning of this video, I said, maybe I'll go back, guys. Maybe we'll go back and have some cool League of Legends content again. But it's just, for now, I'm just not enjoying it. In addition to that, there are some problems with League that I have that kind of seem a bit silly. One, this is going to seem dumb, but I assure you it's not. I have noticed that the riot.exe executable keeps popping up in my background. I have not upgraded my game for Vanguard, but I keep seeing that executable, that application going on in the background. I have to Control-Alt-Delete a lot because sometimes OBS screws up, sometimes the game I'm playing screws up. Stuff like that. And, as I'm going through the list of applications, boy, I keep seeing that Riot app going back on in the background. And it's kind of weirding me out. I'm not trying to suggest a conspiracy theory, but I'm trying to suggest that's kind of weirding me out, okay? And with Riot doing the whole anti-cheat program, and it's fine that they're doing the anti-cheat program, like, whatever, y'all downloaded it anyway, so none of you have shit to say about it. I didn't, so I can say shit about it, but you guys did not. At either rate, I just feel like the company is becoming scummier and scummier and scummier as time goes on. And $200 chroma, $500 skin, using Faker's name. Because remember, Faker originally wanted to have an Ori skin, and they said no. And then they put out an Ori skin with Faker for $500. The company is getting really scummy. This is a company that just laid off a shitload of employees that is now doing a $500 skin. Now, they explained that after the COVID bump that they needed a little bit more money, or they'd hired on too many people and they need a financial boost, but they fired a shitload of their company and now they're doing a $500 skin. The company, like, where's that money going? Ask yourself this. Where's that money going? Is it going to your friend? Is it going to your favorite rioter? Or is their salary going to go up? No, of course not. They're on a salaried employees. It's going to go to bonuses for the CEO. It's going to go to bonuses for all the upper end. They're going to get, multi-million-dollar bonuses because they came up with the genius idea of using their most famous player to sell skins. Cool. Anyway, let me wrap this video up with, I don't normally like talking about a lot of this stuff because I feel like I'm above using sympathy. I'm above the voy boy. People are being mean to me. You feel bad for me now. I just made false allegations about people, and now people are being mean. Like, okay, imagine how many death threats he got for making false accusations on me, and imagine how many I got for those accusations. I'm talking daily. I'm talking fearing for my life. I'm talking like I do not film ever in any location ever outside of this exact room because I don't want people to ever be able to figure out where I live ever because someone will show up with a gun and try to fucking kill me for Voy Boy. So at any rate, I try not to have, you know, I try not to talk about this stuff. I try not to, you know, sympathy delve here, but let's just say that dude got like one death threat and made an entire video sniffing and crying about depression. I literally, let me be clear here. Like, none of the shit people say about me is ever backed up, by the way. I tried to kill myself with melatonin. Where did I say that? Could you find that? Could anyone find the source for that? Anyone ever? You want to know what happened here? I'll actually tell you guys what happened. As I finish up this video, and you know, as I'm already kind of delving deep into this, let me tell you guys what happened. So the police came, they knocked on my door. They'd already knocked on my door. I thought they didn't come a second time. I went with them and I was a bit disoriented. I can't really remember that well what happened after that, mind you. But I threw up in the back of the cop car and it was some color, maybe orange or something. I don't really remember. And the cop was like, holy shit, dude, you just threw up in my cop car and you had a suicide note and you had some medication. And I think I'm going to involuntarily, oh, what do they call it? There's voluntary and involuntary something. I don't really remember. Basically, they were going to lock me up for the weekend. And they did. They locked me up for the weekend. And people question that. By the way, people still to this day believe I lied about that, despite I had the fucking checkout form. Like, how would I even, you know, like, what? Like, and that's, okay, oh my god. Dude, the shit I gotta prove is insane. Whereas, like, Voy Boy can just make up a bunch of shit, be like, oh, I know I was lying. Like, he'll literally in private message me and be like, yeah, I know this person is lying. This person is lying and trying to blackmail you for money. And then go public and be like, they're not lying. Oh, he groomed them. And I'll be like, dude, you literally told me in private they were lying and you knew they were lying. And he'll be like, no, I feel bad. I have depression. Don't come at me. You know what I mean? It's just like, and the dude can literally straight up, I could go into my DMs right now and I could show you where he's like, oh yeah, this person is lying. And then I could show you in his video where he's like, they're definitely not lying. This happened. And I'll just, you know, it's just the shit I gotta prove is insane. Like, how many times can you falsely accuse someone? How many times can you be wrong? How many times are you allowed to do that before, like, your entire evidence is being called into question? How many times can someone admit, I literally made up DMs to blackmail this person for money? How many times can you say, I don't believe this person is telling the truth, they're clearly trying to blackmail you for money, and then you lie about that? How many times can you say someone underage, but was actually a 26-year-old girl? You know, how many times are you allowed to do that before people say, like, yeah, maybe this guy isn't exactly truthful? Me, I literally provide mountains of evidence for every goddamn thing I say, and no one believes me. That's why I'm not pulling up anything right now. You guys have seen my shit. Y'all have seen my shit. I don't give a fuck anymore. Y'all will never believe me no matter what I do, which is sad. Anyway, maybe League will get better in the future. We'll see. We'll see, everybody. We'll be back. So, go to my variety channel. Look, we got cool variety shit. We talk, we have fun. If you just want to chill, if you just want to hang out, you just want to put messages in chat and have a fun little day, that's fine. Just go to my variety channel, dude. We just hang out. We just have a fun time. So just go there. You know what I mean? So thank you. Have a great rest of your day.